In the heart of New York City, amid the relentless hum of traffic and the towering skyscrapers, lies a hospital bustling with activity. Within its walls, the scene is a whirlwind of motion, doctors and nurses moving with determined urgency as they navigate the sterile white corridors. The air is filled with the sharp scent of antiseptic, mingling with the faint beeping of monitors and the distant murmur of rolling medical carts. It's here, amidst the chaos, that we meet Dr. Alex Thompson, a figure exuding quiet strength. Known for his precise mind and unwavering dedication, Dr. Thompson is at the helm of the hospital's neurology department, yet he now finds himself standing on ominous precipices of doubt. Thompson, testing the boundaries of his expertise and resilience. As he stands by Jack's bedside, Dr. Thompson's eyes are drawn to the EKG monitor, its rhythmic blips emphasizing the fragile thread by which life hangs. The room itself seems to breathe despair, shadows clinging to the corners, as if the air itself has taken on the heaviness of his thoughts. His professional detachment battles with his human empathy, drawing him into sleepless nights of restless pondering. The emotional seesaw is a quietly kept secret, a weight he bears alone as he endeavors to project calm and authority before his team. Yet inside, doubts churn uninvited guests at his subconscious table. Each carries the unspoken burden of Jack's case, a testament to the nature of their work. Impressive advancements shadowed by faults when finite science meets the infinite variability of human life. Conversations hover around diagnostics and experimental approaches, a symphony of jargon underscored by an unyielding quest to provoke a flicker of change in Jack's stasis. His internal conflict echoes through his posture, an invisible storm roiling beneath a practiced exterior. As he listens to the whispered dialogues of his colleagues, he prepares himself mentally for the discussion he dreads, one that involves acknowledging boundaries, accepting limitations. It's a hard truth that science and technology have edged ever closer, but not quite reached a point where miracles can be conjured on command. His thoughts are interrupted by the nurse's gentle inquiry, drawing him back to the reality of his environment. For now, we follow the protocols, but continue to prepare for any change, be it progress or otherwise. As he glances once more at Jack, the flicker of fluorescent lights casts an odd warmth over the room, a fleeting moment of illumination amidst the prevailing somberness. It's a warmth he can't quite place, a dissonance in the narrative of despair that has enveloped Jack. Despite the calm resolve he presents to his peers, there lies dormant a curiosity, a whisper of belief that ventures into realms unexplored by textbooks, a space formed by the boundaries of human faith and connection. It is this spark, this tiny unfurling hope, that he secretly cherishes, even as the clinical routine continues around him. Little does he know, this seed of wonder is the thread that will unravel a tapestry of awe-inspiring events, a narrative woven with complexity, faith, and a touch of mystery just on the horizon, waiting patiently for its cue to unfold. It was here, amidst the sterile smell of antiseptics and sterner glances of colleagues, that his resolve was being tested by Jack's mounting predicament. Jack, the patient who had shown so much promise before the accident, now lay silent and unresponsive, the victim of a calamitous car crash 6 months prior. "I've reviewed Jack's latest test results," he began, his voice maintaining an aura of calm authority despite the shadow of concern in his eyes. "His condition is worsening. The pressure buildup has led to further degeneration. We must rethink our approach. Have you considered revisiting his medication regimen? Maybe there's room to adjust the parameters," she suggested, her tone a mixture of hope and pragmatism. Henry Rossi, the young yet astute neurosurgeon, leaned forward, his fingers tented thoughtfully. "We also need to think about practical timelines. It's been 6 months. We're all aware of the challenges." Thompson remained objective. Could he separate his professional duties from the growing emotional investment? "Their faith in our ability to bring their son back is unwavering. It's heartbreaking, seeing their eyes light up with hope at each visit." Thompson's job not only to deal with the clinical side of things, but also to navigate the turbulent seas of human emotions. The effort to maintain a professional detachment sometimes crumbled under the weight of knowing these families, like Jack's, intimately. Thompson rubbed his eyes. The thought of facing Jack's parents with yet another day without progress filled him with unease. But amidst the scientific data and probable outcomes, Dr. Thompson couldn't shake the feeling that sometimes Hope did indeed flicker in the most unexpected of places. Thompson knew that every team member would be tested to their core. Perhaps the answer lay not just in what medicine could explain, but also in the uncharted territory where intuition met compassion. The air was thick with the scent of antiseptic, a lingering reminder of the unyielding clinical environment. Despite the advanced technology surrounding him, designed to see through the thick veils of the human body and reveal its secrets, Alex felt a deep, gnawing inadequacy. The complexity of Jack's condition was beyond what machines could tell. It was a puzzle that refused to be solved by numbers and scans alone. Over the weeks, Alex had pored over every piece of data: CTs, MRIs, neurological assessments, each test concluding with the same bleak outlook. The prognosis for a patient in a persistent vegetative state like Jack's was grim. Yet, in his heart, Alex nurtured a small ember of hope, something unquantifiable by logic, but real enough to keep him dedicated to Jack's case. As the medical team gathered around the holographic display showcasing Jack's neural pathways, Alex outlined the facts with professional detachment, masking his personal desperation. He observed the expressions of his colleagues, some curious, some disheartened, yet all maintaining a veneer of professionalism. This wasn't the case that would be solved by standard protocol. It required something more that science had yet to discover. While new methods continue to develop, we must prepare the family for what seems inevitable. He knew all too well that every medical advancement had once been ridiculed by the skeptics before it became accepted practice. As the briefing ended, the team dispersed, each member returning to their myriad responsibilities within the hospital. Alex lingered, his gaze settling on the holographic display of Jack's brain transfixed. It was as though the instruments used to discern life's deepest mysteries were blind to some vital essence, something unmeasurable. It kindled a lingering uncertainty that simmered in his mind amidst the cold, hard data. Alex's thoughts were interrupted by Dr. Stephen Patel, a young yet astute neurosurgeon who had assisted Alex in countless operations. "Do you ever think we're missing something our equipment can't detect? Something more?" His question mirrored Alex's internal dilemma. For Alex, reconciling his professional duties with the faint promise of hope felt like walking a tightrope stretched over an abyss. His instincts whispered that some pieces of Jack's puzzle lay beyond the reach of conventional medicine, hidden in shadows where only courage and conviction dared to tread. He stared at the stack of medical journals piled high on his desk, each representing countless hours of research and theory. As he pondered, a flicker of inspiration danced at the edges of his mind, some forgotten piece of knowledge or a yet unseen avenue worth pursuing. Jack's situation might not fit into the frameworks they trusted, but there was more to medicine than the sum of its parts. As the day waned and the twilight shadows crept across the hospital corridors, Alex resolved to trust his instincts, no matter how irrational they seemed in the face of data. Perhaps intuition was merely another word for experience combined with hope, a belief that sometimes the miraculous transcended the tangible. This conviction propelled him forward as he prepared to challenge the status quo, to venture beyond where logic dared tread, in search of answers yet unrevealed. Rachel and Michael entered the hospital room as they did every day, their footsteps muted against the linoleum floor, echoing softly around them. The room, with its pastel walls and sterile furnishings, was filled with the continuous rhythmic beeping of monitors. There was an aura of stagnation, a stillness so profound that it seemed to seep into their souls. They approached the bed where their son, Jack, lay unmoving. His skin was pale, the once vibrant blue of his eyes hidden beneath closed lids. Despite the constant hum of hospital activity just outside these four walls, time stood still here. "Hey, sweetheart, it's us again," she whispered, her voice laden with a blend of hope and resignation. "We've told you about our days so many times, but I like to think you can hear us." The burden of seeing Jack's frozen life was etched deeply in the creases of his brow. Jack had been a promising young lawyer, with a fervent dedication to justice and a penchant for late-night research sessions, drowned in books and endless cups of coffee. Through conversations with Rachel and Michael, Alex had pieced together a mosaic of Jack's life: the vibrancy of his laughter, his ability to light up any room with his enthusiasm for life, and his deep commitment to defending those who couldn't defend themselves. Now this room in the ICU had become the center of a life paused, dreams held in suspension. But when faced with the relentless hope of Jack's parents, Any hint of doubt or despair felt like betrayal. Thompson caught sight of a snapshot of Jack and his parents at a beach, the three of them grinning at the camera, wind-tousled hair and sun-kissed skin. The image stirred something deep within him, a reminder of life's unpredictable nature and the fragility each of us faces. He too had experienced the unpredictability of life. Memories of laughter and love were often tempered by moments of profound uncertainty. It was something deeper, pulling him into a narrative where he was not merely a spectator, but a participant in the quest for answers, for resolution. Jack's story, once a medical conundrum, was now interwoven with his own story, a shared human experience steeped in emotion, resilience, and the pursuit of hope against daunting odds. Inside the bustling corridors of New York City's renowned hospital, the atmosphere was thick with the smell of antiseptic and quiet urgency. Monitors beeped rhythmically, a chorus of life and technology. Dr. Alex Thompson, the diligent neurologist known for both his expertise and unyielding empathy, found himself standing outside Jack's hospital room, deep in thought. The passing nurses exchanged tired smiles, and despite the sterile brightness echoing from every corner, a shadow of hopelessness had crept into his heart. It was an unwarranted attachment, but one that crept upon him through the months of shared agony and expectation. Rachel and Michael, Jack's parents, visited religiously, their faces a canvas painting of despair mixed with enduring hope. Pushing open the door gently, he immediately sensed someone he hadn't met before. A woman he would soon learn was named Mary. Standing beside Jack's bed, she emanated an aura of calm, her presence an unexpected yet serene disruption in the clinical environment. "I come when I'm needed," she replied softly, her voice barely above a whisper yet carrying an inexplicable weight. "I'm here for Jack," she said, her gaze lingering on the young man lying motionless, wrapped in hospital sheets. There was a tenderness in her eyes, an ancient wisdom and poised assurance. In the faint glow of the room's lights, her presence was both comforting and mysterious. "Hope is a powerful thing, Doctor," she remarked, "something beyond the reach of machines and medicine." "How do you know Jack?" he asked, determined to unravel the mystery before him. In all his years as a doctor, never had he encountered someone quite like Mary. Yet there was a magnetism to her, an unexplainable urge to trust her presence. Could this woman, with her air of calm authority, truly make any difference in Jack's condition? Fighting the skepticism that his medical training instilled in him, he decided to let the moment play out. If Mary's influence on Jack was real, surely there would be signs. He was determined to find out, even if it meant stepping outside the bounds of traditional medicine. A part of him hoped Mary's words carried some power that neither science nor medicine could explain. And if true, he wouldn't let skepticism overshadow the faint glimmer of hope that, against all odds, might just spark a change. Alex Thompson stood at the threshold of the hospital room, his eyes fixed on Mary as she sat at Jack's bedside. There was a warmth to her presence, an unspoken serenity that seemed to envelop the room, and Alex couldn't help but linger in the doorway, observing her quietly. Mary was unlike anyone he'd encountered before. Her gentle demeanor contrasted sharply with the sterile, cold efficiency that permeated the hospital corridors. She spoke to Jack softly, her voice barely above a whisper, yet it carried with it a soothing power that seemed to transcend the clinical environment. It was as if she possessed an uncharted depth of understanding about Jack's condition, a depth that eluded traditional medical texts and technology. As Mary spoke, her words were gentle, crafted with care, as if each syllable carried a weight of its own. There was no visible reaction from Jack, yet Alex sensed something intangible was at play. Determined to understand what was happening, Alex spent the next several hours consulting his colleagues, discussing the latest in neurological treatments and therapeutic interventions. He sought insights from his team, people like Dr. Emily Carter, whose expertise in cognitive rehabilitation offered valuable perspectives. Emily, just like most others in the hospital, was intrigued by the unexpected visitor and her mysterious aura. However, there was a collective sense of doubt about Mary's influence, grounded in the rigorous protocols that defined their medical practice. Historical records were rife with stories that bordered on the miraculous, tales that danced on the edge of science and belief. One story spoke of a similar figure in the 1960s, a woman whose presence seemed to inexplicably mend what medicine could not. Alex remained steadfast in his scientific grounding, yet these narratives sparked a whisper of possibility that he found increasingly difficult to ignore. His mind spun around an uncanny paradox, the sheer weight of evidence that favored empirical facts against the untraceable, yet palpable sensation that perhaps not everything could be measured. She never intruded upon the medical processes, always respectful of the parameters laid by the hospital staff. Her eyes, when they met Alex's, held an understanding, a silent acknowledgement of the complexities that defined their unspoken agreement. It was as if she knew the struggle within him, the tug-of-war between skepticism and the pull of a broader, mysterious narrative. Their conversation began with pleasantries, but soon drifted towards Jack's condition. "How is he?" Mary asked, her voice soft but steady. Alex paused, choosing his words carefully. "Stable, but unchanged. Medically, he's in a persistent vegetative state, but—" He hesitated. The skeptic in him battled with the growing sense of trust he felt towards her. Her words, though simple, resonated deeply, echoing the thoughts Alex had been turning over since she arrived. There was an undeniable wisdom in Mary's voice, one that he found increasingly difficult to dismiss. Over the days that followed, Dr. Thompson juggled scientific inquiry with the unsettling yet comforting idea that perhaps on the fringes of science lay an untapped domain of possibilities embodied by this enigmatic woman. The mystery surrounding Mary was deepening, and Alex was poised at its edge, ready to follow where it led. The emergence of Mary at Jack's bedside had stirred a storm of emotions and thoughts, challenging his deeply held beliefs about medicine and recovery. "I understand your concerns," Alex replied, trying to maintain a balance between his professional obligations and a growing personal conviction. "But Mary, there's something about her. I can't quite explain it. But there's a genuine connection there. Alex, with all due respect, there's no scientific basis for this." The dismissal was clear, yet Alex felt unfazed. He was driven by an instinct that transcended logical confines. She turned her gaze towards him, eyes calm and knowing. "Dr. Thompson, you must do what you feel is right, even if it's beyond explanation." The alternative explanations ranged wildly, from religious interventions to superstitious whispers. Despite the administration's watchful eyes, Mary's impact was tangible, drawing Alex into a journey that tested not just his medical expertise, but also the very essence of his beliefs. What lay ahead was uncertain, yet the confrontation with the administration was merely the beginning of a path that challenged the boundaries of science. In the depths of his heart, Alex felt a pull towards the unexplained, a realm where faith met medicine, and where Mary's quiet determination seemed to illuminate a path forward, even as the world around him questioned the rationality of such choices. Beneath the layers of procedure and protocol, an unspoken question lingered. What if Mary truly held the key to unlocking Jack's silent world? Alex Thompson stood beside the bed, his usually steady hands finding it hard to suppress a tremor of anticipation. In the past few weeks, ever since Mary had begun her quiet visits, Jack had shown the faintest flickers of response. Tiny, involuntary movements, barely detectable twitches of fingers or eyelids. Each tiny motion sparked cautious optimism, causing Alex to ponder the nature of hope in a place often ruled by stark realism. Mary sat nearby, her presence a comforting yet enigmatic force. The medical team had initially reacted with skepticism to her unofficial involvement. Still, the subtle changes they observed in Jack could not be so easily dismissed. She had come initially as a quiet visitor. Now it felt as though her soft-spoken words and gentle presence played an integral role in the mystery of Jack's condition. Mary never claimed any supernatural powers or divine connections, yet there was something undeniably serene and captivating about her. Her eyes held wisdom beyond the ordinary, and when she spoke to Jack, it was with an intimacy that suggested an understanding rooted deeper than mere acquaintance. A conversation with Mary earlier yielded no concrete explanations, only an earnest conviction in the healing power of human connection and faith. "He's listening," she had said, her voice quiet but firm. "Somewhere beneath the surface, he hears us." Despite his medical training, Alex found himself daring to believe her words, to hope that they might indeed be reaching Jack in his unreachable place. This afternoon, as Mary began her usual visit, Alex noticed something different in her demeanor. A heightened intensity as she talked to Jack, encouraging him softly, her hands resting lightly on the bed's edge. Suddenly, a flicker of movement in Jack's fingers caught the room's attention. It was more pronounced this time, a definite curling and uncurling, as if attempting to grasp something just out of reach. The air seemed to still anticipation palpable among the medical staff and Jack's parents, Rachel and Michael, who were regular fixtures by his side. But here was evidence undeniable before their eyes. Thompson, normally a man of eloquent explanations and decisive actions, found himself pausing, words not easily forming. "It's encouraging," he finally said, carefully measuring his response. "We need to continue observing, but this is the most notable sign we've seen." Her consistent presence seemed to infuse the room with quiet strength, a testament to the power of belief in each other's capacity to heal. The team began to ponder if the realm of miracles might intersect at times with the path of medicine. This blend of science and faith was uncharted territory for many, yet it felt essential and right. What lay ahead was uncertain, but the promise glimpsed in those small yet profound movements imprinted on everyone touched by Jack's story. This trajectory, fed by Mary's steadfast presence, compelled even the most skeptical among them to wonder what motivations the heart might unlock when faced with the brink of despair. Thompson found himself engrossed in a task he never anticipated, investigating the enigmatic Mary, whose inexplicable visits to Jack's bedside had stirred more questions than answers. Driven by an insatiable curiosity and a growing personal stake in the case, he delved into every resource he could muster. Quiet evenings over coffee became routine as he sifted through databases and archives, ferreting out any thread that might unravel the mystery surrounding her. In recent days, the hospital corridors had seemed more daunting, the sterile environment becoming an emblem of conundrum rather than care. The unusual nature of Jack's slight improvements since Mary's appearances had amplified Dr. Thompson's resolve. Here he was, a man of science, contemplating phenomena that felt almost supernatural. He chuckled at the absurdity of it all, how a respected neurologist found himself trailing the past of a woman he barely knew. Thompson's inquiries led him through a labyrinth of past medical records, whispers of rumors, and surprisingly, a few minor miracles scattered across the country. It appeared Mary had been present at several instances where inexplicable recoveries had occurred, her name surfacing in hushed hospital tales and patient anecdotes. This revelation turned his skepticism into a peculiar suspension of disbelief. Curiosity grew as things once dismissed began to knit together into a tapestry of wonder. The most striking aspect was an article he discovered in a small-town newspaper from over a decade ago. It chronicled a young girl, critically injured and teetering on the brink of life, who had inexplicably regained consciousness after an unanticipated visit from a woman described as bearing an air of calm assurance. The woman remained unnamed, but Dr. Thompson sensed an uncanny connection. Online forums, personal blogs, and even obscure social media posts contributed fragments of the puzzle. Here the stories unfolded not just about Mary, but about the families she had touched. There was an undeniable pattern. Everyone she encountered had felt a sense of hope unfurling even in the darkest moments. He stumbled upon testimonies of loved ones whose despair had been swept away by a renewed sense of belief. Flashbacks of his career played in his mind's theater. The lives he'd mended, the fights fought against hopelessness, and the times his faith in medicine had been shaken. He recalled an early career incident, a critical patient who slipped away, leaving him clinging to a ruthless realization that science had its boundaries. The emotional scars from that experience had never faded completely. They were often buried under layers of clinical detachment and professionalism. This reflective process began unveiling parallels between Mary's influence and his past. What if this investigation wasn't just about understanding Mary, but about redefining his own belief system? Dr. Thompson recognized a transformation within himself, a shift from reliance solely on empirical evidence toward an acceptance of the intangibles that danced in the periphery of science. His heart, which had once shielded itself behind data and diagnoses, found a resonance in the notion that some things lay beyond comprehension. Thompson found the crux of his journey, a poignant correlation between medicine and faith, where one informed and enriched the other. It was an invitation to breadth beyond depth, where lives could be reshaped merely through the sheer force of belief, carefully woven with the threads of hope. This journey, once considered academic, was evolving into something intrinsically human, where the dissection of doubt led not just to knowledge, but to wisdom. As the wheels of his investigation churned forward, Dr. Thompson knew that the story of Jack, Mary, and himself was just beginning to reveal its true essence. In the bustling corridors of the hospital, the air seemed charged with an electric buzz, not just from the constant hum of medical equipment, but from the growing tensions surrounding Dr. Alex Thompson's most enigmatic case. As the fame of Jack's confounding situation spread outside the hospital walls, it attracted attention from various directions, bringing with it a slew of new challenges. The media caught wind of a potential medical mystery, eager to feed the public's insatiable curiosity. Reporters began gathering outside, hoping for any update that would make headlines. Dr. Thompson, though accustomed to the clinical challenges of his profession, found himself unprepared for the pressure of media scrutiny, coupled with the internal debates heating up among his peers. On one hand, they had the unshakable foundation of medical science, demanding empirical results and peer-reviewed evidence. On the other, there was Mary, an enigma wrapped in wisdom and a calming presence that seemed to defy logical explanation. Hospital protocols strained under the weight of this unconventional situation, leaving Dr. Thompson to navigate the fine line between institutional expectations and his own growing belief in something beyond the ordinary. Mary's presence in Jack's room had become a source of contention among medical staff. While some colleagues viewed her as a potential distraction, others, having witnessed even minor changes in Jack's condition, started to lean toward a quiet hope that perhaps Mary knew something they didn't. It was in these heart-to-heart conversations with Mary, away from prying eyes and clattering medical charts, that Dr. Thompson found himself mesmerized, not only by her gentle demeanor, but by the philosophical musings she shared about the human capacity for healing. Thompson's mind, as he pondered over his medical textbooks each night, increasingly aware of the spectrum of gray areas that existed between hard science and inexplicable wonder. Her demeanor was unassuming, yet each visit emphasized a resilience that inspired both awe and skepticism. In whispered conversations, Mary revealed her philosophy of healing, one that involved listening to the whispers of hope in the silence of despair. "Every life," she said during one of their conversations, "is a melody. Sometimes it takes another soul to help find the tune when we've forgotten the rhythm." The administration's growing anxiety threatened to place roadblocks, fearing liability issues if they extended too much leeway. He stood firm, fueled by newfound conviction, derived not only from Mary's warm, unwavering guidance, but also from a deeply personal belief that was blossoming in him. A belief that sometimes solutions lay outside the grasp of the tangible. Mary never claimed to perform miracles, yet her presence was undeniably transformative. It was as if her very essence encouraged a shift, not just in the physiological confines of Jack's comatose state, but in the broader environment surrounding his care. As the debate raged on, Dr. Thompson's commitment to exploring every avenue became more resolute. The discussions with Mary had ignited a spark within him, a delicate balance of scientific integrity and humanistic belief. He stood at the crossroads, bearing witness to a scenario that invited more questions than answers. Yet one question persisted in his mind. Could there indeed be a realm where science and hope coexist, each enriching the other in the tapestry of healing? With this thought, he turned his gaze once more to Jack, to Mary, and to the incredible journey unfolding before him, one that might just redefine the bounds of his understanding. The room was quiet except for the gentle hum of machines and the steady rhythmic beeping that signaled Jack's fragile hold on life. Dr. Alex Thompson stood at the foot of the bed, gazing thoughtfully at the monitors. The scenes around him seemed to blur into a kaleidoscope of hospital staff bustling past, the noise all but muted as he pondered everything Mary had told him. Her words had haunted his thoughts, a gentle yet persistent echo reminding him of the limits of his own understanding. Mary stood nearby, her presence as unassuming as ever. Her eyes, kind and knowing, locked with Dr. Thompson's briefly. He found himself returning her gaze, a connection there that went beyond the physical presence in the room. It was an understanding, an unspoken acknowledgement of something neither dared to articulate out loud. The others in the room might have picked up on it, or perhaps it was just another mystery to them, much like Mary's enigmatic presence in this very hospital. "Do you really believe he'll come back to us?" Dr. Thompson asked, keeping his voice low as if the truth they were edging toward was too fragile to be spoken aloud. "Why do you do this?" he found himself asking, voicing the question that had lingered in his mind since her arrival. Come to places like this, where even hope fades under fluorescent lights. Our beliefs, our hopes, they have the power to bring change. You really have seen miracles before, haven't you? He pressed, seeking an answer or maybe just a confirmation of something he desperately wanted to believe. But does the label matter, Alex? Isn't it the change that counts? What brought you here, he asked, delving deeper into the mystery of this woman before him. To Jack, of all people. Were you sent? Thompson considered this, the revelation that perhaps there was a guiding hand in all circumstances, leading us to crossroads, decisions, and people like Mary. Her presence no longer felt like an anomaly, but a crucial piece in the unfolding fabric of life itself. Where once stood a man of science, resolute in the certainty of data and empirical evidence, now existed a man open to possibilities beyond those tangible limits. In that hospital room, amidst the sterile smell and the stark white walls, a seed of hope was taking root. Thompson watched her tend to Jack. He recognized that perhaps, just perhaps, there was more to healing than medicine alone. With each passing moment, the certainty that once seemed so elusive slowly began to crystallize, carving a new path forward for him and the young man in the bed before him. Minutes ago, Jack, who had been unresponsive for nearly a year, opened his eyes, his gaze shifting around the room as if seeing it for the first time. The atmosphere buzzed with an electric mix of disbelief and joy. Nurses and doctors, who had once lost hope, now found themselves whispering incredulously, the sterile air of the hospital room charged with a newfound energy. Rachel, Jack's mother, clung to her husband's arm, tears streaming down her face as a smile of pure relief slipped past her quivering lips. "He's really waking up," she murmured, her voice a blend of astonishment and fragile hope, as if any louder, and this dream would shatter. Michael, his face both pale and lit with an inner glow of disbelief, could only nod, too choked up to speak. Their long-standing vigil at Jack's bedside seemed finally justified, their faith repaid in the sweetest of dividends. Something beyond his textbooks, something beyond his vast medical knowledge was at play. Her eyes, serene and deep, met his with an understanding that transcended explanation. The room, filled with bustling medical staff and the hushed murmur of incredulity, seemed to center around her, as if everyone subconsciously recognized her pivotal role in this miracle. There was something profoundly calming about her, an aura that seemed to reassure everyone in the room that things were indeed on the mend. Her appearance had initially sparked skepticism among the staff, but now all doubts seemed to dissipate in the glow of Jack's miraculous revival. Thompson, who had valued empirical evidence above all else, found himself reconsidering the paradigm that science alone held all answers. He couldn't deny the change he saw, not anymore. The medical anomalies stood stark against his usual experiences and training. "I'm here," he said, as if reassuring them all, and the tears flowed more freely. The doctors exchanged glances, acknowledging this moment as extraordinary, a confluence of hope, persistence, and something else. The boundaries of human possibility felt thrillingly malleable, stretched by the enigma that was Mary standing quietly in their midst. Conversations dipped into territories of unexplained phenomena, the perpetual clash between science and mystery, less about battles and more about curiosity. Dr. Thompson, now a man standing at the brink of revelation, faced an endless horizon of questions, each begging to reshape his understanding of medicine itself. Thus, as Jack's eyes adapted again to the light of life, and newfound hope swelled within those around him, this story weaved itself anew, not just about survival against odds, but about layers of hope refracting through the illusions of certainty. Dr. Thompson realized that while Mary's role seemed clear, her mystery remained. More importantly, she embodied an idea far simpler yet more profound. The power of hope, unacknowledged before, was now irrefutably real. So amidst the celebration, the subtle process of rethinking medicine itself began. Navigating the corridors, Dr. Alex Thompson, whose normally composed demeanor was momentarily softened by the recent turn of events, found himself greeting everyone with a rare warmth. The twinkle in his eye didn't go unnoticed by the staff, as nurses and doctors basked in the afterglow of faith rewarded. The world outside bustled with its usual urgency, but inside these walls, hope had found a voice once more. Despite the tremendous trial his body had endured during those long months of profound stillness, there was an indelible spirit that now seemed invincible. His first days awake were filled with tentative smiles and softly spoken words, his voice emerging as if through a veil but growing stronger each day. His parents, Rachel and Michael, remained a constant presence by his bedside, their eyes shining with renewed light, the shades of worry and weariness gradually dissipating. Rachel often found herself resting her hand gently on Jack's arm, as if ensuring he wouldn't slip away again. Michael, ever the silent sentinel, offered words of encouragement, each one carrying the weight of gratitude and the promise of a future once feared lost. Physical therapists worked patiently with him, celebrating each small victory. A slight movement here, a new word articulated there. It was these moments that layered to create the mosaic of his recovery. And through it all, Jack's humor, an aspect his family cherished, surfaced, bringing laughter to the hospital room. Even the walls seemed to resonate with the sounds of healing and hope. Thompson, while overseeing Jack's recovery, found himself reflecting on the inexplicable events that had led to this moment. Mary's influence, he mused, was undeniable, yet accepting it was proof not bounded by scientific explanation was a journey in itself. Her enigmatic presence had left an indelible impact, not just on Jack and his family, but on every soul that had, in some way, witnessed this miracle unfold. The rapport she'd had with Jack had been a beacon visible only through the lens of those willing to believe. Despite her absence, Mary's presence remained woven into the fabric of the hospital, inspiring a softened perspective even among the most skeptical. There were those who clamored for more information, chasing a deeper truth behind her disappearance, others content to bask in the glow of positive possibility. Instead, they transformed into visions actively pursued, propelled by the momentum of Jack's miraculous recovery. Within his office, he often pondered the transformative experience, reshaping his philosophy around medicine and its limitless potential when coupled with faith. Alex Thompson sat silently in his office, the dim light from a solitary lamp painting long shadows across his desk. The hustle and bustle of the hospital seemed a world away, muted by the heavy door that separated him from the chaos outside. It was a moment of rare solitude, forcing him to confront the thoughts that had been swirling in his mind since Mary first appeared at Jack's bedside. The image of her gently speaking to the comatose patient, bringing about changes that defied the boundaries of modern medicine, lingered in his mind like a vivid dream. Jack's unexpected awakening, against all scientific odds, had stirred something within him. It was a reminder of the unpredictable nature of life, the mysteries that lay beyond empirical understanding. Her presence had been like a gentle whisper in a storm, redirecting his cynicism toward a more open-minded acceptance of the world's mysteries. Yet her wisdom resonated in a profound and unsettling way, challenging him to reconsider the rigid lines he had drawn between science and faith. The lights from the other buildings twinkled like small beacons of hope in the night, a reminder that life continued outside the hospital walls, layered with complexities and miracles that defied quick explanations. Rachel and Michael, Jack's parents, had expressed their gratitude countless times, their relief a palpable energy that filled the hospital room whenever he checked on them. Dr. Thompson had become more than just a doctor to them. He was a beacon of resilience during their darkest days, and in return their unfaltering faith had touched him deeply. Her warm smile was comforting, a reminder that he was not alone in this journey. Alone again, the question of Mary's identity lingered. Her departure as sudden and mysterious as her arrival, she had left no trace, no explanation, and yet her influence remained etched in their lives, a testament to the miracles that science alone sometimes cannot explain. It was about understanding that medicine is as much about heart and soul as it is about body and mind. As he prepared to leave his office and join the gathering, he hoped that those who watched this story unfold would find inspiration and encouragement to believe in their own unexplained miracles. He hoped those watching would subscribe to that belief too, and perhaps subscribe to the channel for more stories like this, stories that illuminate the extraordinary threads woven into the fabric of everyday life.